self-directed, and that was really important.
He's very creative.
Yeah.
Chip always has had the ability to be ahead of the curve.
He's a great synthesizer of talent and ideas.
Chip has a penetrating style of listening. You can sense the curiosity.
Chip is loyal, extremely creative, and adventurous.
If you walk into his house after noticing the beautiful art, the second thing you notice is all the books. There are more books than you can count.
Authenticity is at the heart of what he goes to do.
Chip has the ability to see around the corner and tell you what's going to happen next. You're just seeing every day a better version of the Chip from 2 decades ago.
As a 12-year-old, he was really an impresario. He lived on a street called Burling Hall Drive, and so he created the Burling Hall Cafe.
I think they appreciated the fact that I was entrepreneurial and enterprising, and that I was doing things to help, gather the local kids. I'm not sure they liked having a restaurant in their dining room. That didn't last more than about 3 days.
I presume he thought people from the neighborhood would come and eat. That never happened, but it was another one of his ideas.
And he had the Burling Hall News, and then he had the Burling Hall Olympics.
And he did it from scratch. He made the medals, got each venue together. And we had kids coming from blocks away to be in our Olympics.
Everyone just kind of jumped on board. He has that ability to get people kind of excited about an idea. Definitely competitive. All of the Conleys are competitive with each other and just in general.
He started a little water polo career, became quite good at it.
In junior high school and high school, he was a leader and president of his student body at high school.
He was our first child, so we assumed that all children were like this.
Both of my parents went to Stanford, and so I grew up, very much, as a big Jim Plunkett fan. Oh gosh, I think it was Stanford, Ohio State, and Stanford, Michigan Rose Bowl games in the early 1970s. I applied to Stanford and just 2 other schools, and it was Stanford or sort of nowhere, and I was lucky enough to get in. The thing I appreciated about Stanford from the very first time I was there is the spaciousness of the campus and the sense that it just felt like a place where you could think big thoughts. As an undergrad, I studied economics, and then I was lucky enough to get accepted straight into Stanford Business School. I had taken some Stanford Business School classes as an undergrad, and I'd actually even started a little business, a real estate consulting firm. So I graduated from Stanford Business School and went to work for Bill Poland, a maverick real estate developer, and I enjoyed it, but I was particularly intrigued by hotels.
I did think that he would be successful, but he was taking a direction that was unique, or at least unique in this marketplace. We took on that 25 Van Ness project. Rents had collapsed in other parts of the city. He had to go out and call on brokerage firms all over, completely lease the building. It's always been a wonderful relationship because of his almost zen ability to deal with people, including myself.
I asked Bill if we could potentially create a hotel division, and because we were actually looking at potentially creating a hotel in the Showplace Square area of San Francisco. And Bill said, no, if we're gonna do a hotel, we'll just do that one, nothing else after that. And that's when I started thinking, well, maybe I could just start my own company and become a hotelier. When I said I wanted to start my own company and start a hotel company, they looked at me like, what are you talking about? You're like in your mid-20s and you haven't had any hotel experience. And then the hotel I wanted to buy was this no-tell motel in the Tenderloin. It's like, okay.
He purchased a gritty property and saw a personality there and a business that could grow on the personality hotel.
There are many times in my career when the conventional wisdom has said, I'm wrong when I have a new idea.
This was at a time when nobody knew what a boutique hotel or a personality hotel meant. But he took a gritty property and turned it into a rock star and pioneered and molded a whole new industry as well as a whole new company.
When I started my company and called it Joie de Vivre, I pretty much said, okay, I'm going to be a 26-year-old out gay CEO. And what came as a result of that is I just could show up at work with just who I was. being in a position where I give other people the welcome mat to be themselves.
Knowing to do something is not enough. You need the opportunity. And Chip definitely gave me the opportunity. And he was the best school for me. I mean, the first hotel, we worked closely, and then he saw that it was a success. And slowly, there was lots of trust in me, and the results were amazing.
There's actually an image of Chip and Orrin that I will never forget when we started the Commodore on a 2-page management agreement and decided to renovate the property. And every credit card that Chip and Orrin had was maxed, and they were sitting in my office pulling out cards to see where they could add more money so that we could finish the project. And it was really the first bigger hotel of Joie de Vivre, and it was a lot of work, but an incredible amount of fun to turn this really dumpy hotel into a success story.
In the hotel industry, what he did, you would think that he's a hoteler, he will be very loyal and towards his guests, but he was much more loyal to his employees, knowing that working with them, they will be able to transfer this feeling to his guests. That's extremely unique, and I think that's one of the reasons he became so successful.
When you create something very specific, like the Phoenix Hotel, a lot of people don't get the Phoenix Hotel, and that's totally fine. What we need is that really small niche that just loves it with great passion. I saw other companies beginning to emulate us. In the mid-90s, we had an executive team, 50% female, 40% gay lesbian, so super progressive. And I recognized that I was part of making change.
I believe in Joie de Vivre, we truly had incredible guest satisfaction, loyal following, but to this day, there's so many of us that worked there for all these years. We're still deeply connected with one another.
Joie de Vivre was getting its name out there. Chip was getting his name out there. Really great press. The first really big challenge we faced at Joie de Vivre was the dot-com bust. People just stopped traveling. And the Bay Area especially was hit so hard. Chip immediately just stopped taking a salary. The rest of the executives saw that. We all took 10% pay cuts. But something Chip started doing at that time was these quarterly investor letters that would talk about the market. So we started sending these letters out, and they were well received. And then he shows up in the office one day with a t-shirt that he had printed. And it said, "I bought a hotel in San Francisco, and all I got was this damn t-shirt." And he said, "We are sending this to all of our investors with our next corporate letter." And a couple days after we sent them out, he started getting phone calls and emails. And uniformly, it was so appreciated by these owners because they appreciated the communication and knowing what was going on. But they knew what was going on. They knew what was happening with the economy. They knew we weren't trying to, poorly manage their hotels. What they really appreciated was the humor and the kind of appropriate levity that was brought into it. And a few years later, when the economy got better, we purchased and concepted another dozen hotels, and those same investors are the ones that invested.
We grew from 6 hotels to 42 properties, 19 restaurants, 5 spas, $250 million in annual revenues over the course of the 18 years I was with the company.
He had somehow won the right to develop on this unbelievable site in San Francisco. This was Chip's first ground-up development. He poured himself into that property. It opened to tremendous success and was the hotel in San Francisco that had the highest occupancy. Stanford undergrad, he's got his MBA from Stanford, he has it all. He understands real estate, so when we look at buying something, it was very simple to trust him because he knew the real estate, he knew the numbers. Skills that Chip is amazing at. His creativity is like nothing you've ever seen.
When he sold his company, the hotel management company, that was going to be a time for him to rest. And then Airbnb came along, needed some help, and he jumped right in with both feet.
When I first joined Airbnb, I thought I was just going to help them create a hospitality company. But a week into it, I realized, oh my God, I don't know a damn thing about tech. I got some great tutelage from my father on this. I remember we were going for a hike. He just said, can you turn this fear into curiosity? Can you turn this fear into curiosity?
He took on the opportunity that was presented to him with Airbnb at a time when a lot of the hotel industry and hospitality industry was very intimidated and confused by what home sharing was. And most of the population didn't even know what it meant.
Actually, Chip is the reason that I am with the Airbnb team. Chip reached out to me when Airbnb realized that they really needed to have a better relationship with building owners, landlords, and homeowner associations around the world. All of the underpinnings of his business expertise and his depth in the hospitality segment, you get a pretty wicked combo, right? Like, here's a person who loves people, is interested in hospitality, and has become an expert in the world about this, and then has the emotional depth to really care about something.
My naivete, which I was scared about showing, once I actually sort of sunk into it, allowed me to become even more valuable at Airbnb because of my beginner's mind. You know, I didn't need to fake it. I can tell people I don't understand anything around tech. I am 52 years old and I've never worked in a tech company before. I obviously have something of value that I'm going to be giving you, but at times I am going to be the innocent one in the room.
Chip is one of the most positive individuals I've ever met, even when there's a lot of adversity around him. And that, I think, has moved him and his teams through periods of time where they could have easily stopped.
He just has this inner need to move forward, to learn, to create. A couple years ago, when he left being an employee at Airbnb, he's still an advisor there, but he left to write his book, and he bought a house in Mexico, and he talked about it like almost a semi-retirement. So I'm gonna write my book, but I'm also gonna learn to surf, and I'm gonna take some time off. And all of us who know him well kind of smiled and winked and said, yeah, right.
The common thread with Chip that I've seen is he obviously has gotten a lot wiser, but his passion, his curiosity, his ability to, his drive, that has stayed with him throughout. And I think Modern Elder Academy it's really a place where when you've hit a certain point in your midlife, you don't feel maybe as relevant as you have been. It's a place where you can go for reconnecting with yourself.
It relates to my most recent book, Wisdom at Work, The Making of a Modern Elder. It's very clear there's a need for us to create a place for people to reimagine themselves in midlife, especially as we're going to live longer.
He's tapped into this, taking the wellness resort and the experiential travel to another level. I think he terms it transformational travel. And there's a real growing need and hunger in the travel marketplace for that.
You know, just as with boutique hotels and with Airbnb, I'm trying something new. So yeah, it's another form of real estate too. So here I am doing my real estate thing again.
So I want to congratulate Chip on this terrific award, one that's well-deserved.
Stanford has always been a big component of Chip's life. Many friends there that he has nurtured over the years, and it's always been an alma mater and a school that he's proud of.
I really admire the humility and the courage Chip brings to his business world, and his willingness to share that, the evolution, the ups and downs with so many of us in the business world.
He really has a combination of creativity, perseverance, and a push to achieve that is very, very unique.
Thank you.